All right, get on in here. Get on in here. The housing market is about to get ugly, but not for the reasons that people think. So, I'm going to talk to you guys. We're going to be on this live stream and I'm going to teach you something that's really important because I don't like all of the screaming and shouting like, is there a real estate bust coming? The real estate market is crashing. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, everybody is going so crazy that I want to just have this calm approach, this very, like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what's really happening. Let's talk about what's really going on. I'm going to give you a few like articles that came out that I want to reference and tell you like the real reasons of what's going to happen because it is not a real estate burst. Let me stop there. It is not a burst. It is not like this big collapse. But there are. Let's talk about this. It's going to get ugly. So in June of 2025, there was the most purchase contract cancellations like in a very, very long time, like in a 20-year period. It's crazy how many people were buying a house and then canceled. Okay. And then in July 2025, it got even worse. One in seven purchase contracts were canceled. So a person's buying a house and they just cancel and say, I don't want it anymore. So that is a lot of speculation. You know what I mean? Like, why is that happening? Why is that happening? And so many people, of course, would think, well, that's happening because people think that interest rates are going to go down. So then you have this big thing with Donald Trump firing the one of the governors from the Federal Reserve. Okay, so I'm going to give you some details, and we're going to really go into this for a second. But let me see if I can share my screen with you because this is the article I feel like that has everybody kind of going crazy. So let me share my screen with you, and it's a Fortune, and so you see it. You see that article. Okay. The housing data is the most critical economic variable for predicting recessions. And now it's at the lowest point since the pandemic. So 2020, let's go back for a second. Let me stop sharing this and let me talk 2020 for just a second. So in 2020, houses, sorry, interest rate on houses, mortgage interest rates were basically zero. And so you could get a mortgage in 2020 for less than 3% in some cases, 2.875. Let's just call it 3%. Okay, in 2020. So let me show you. Let me break this down for you guys because this is gonna like really open your mind to what's about to happen, what to do. Let's stay calm, but let's have a plan. Okay, go ahead and like this. I have 185 of you in here, and I don't have enough likes. So go ahead, if everybody in here just likes. And again, if you're watching me on mobile, you can just tap your screen. I'm gonna get right to this. Like I said, okay. So let's just take a $400,000 house. Okay, let's say the home price was $400,000. All right. And in 2020, all right, so let's just go back in time. All right. And then we're going to compare it to 2025. All right. And it's very, very crazy what happened. So if you took this house in 2020, you would have a 3% interest rate. Is that not crazy? 3%. And so that made your mortgage kind of low. Okay. Well, let's just estimate it at about $1,350. That was your payment. Okay. On this back in 2020. So then you take this same house that was selling for in 2020, it would be now like it's crazy. So even just going on the mile side, it would be like 500 and say 36,000 is about what it should be. If you just took a 5% appreciation each year, it should be about $536,000, this $400,000 house. But no, at the very minimum, it's like 588. Okay. It's like $588,000 most places. Okay. So way more expensive. Someone just 5 years later trying to buy a house. The same house costs like 588,000. And 3%, that's not a thing. So what's the interest rate? Interest rates is like 7%. So now, incredibly, do you know the estimated payment? The estimated payment is like $3,100. Okay, $3,100 is about what the payment is in this scenario. So just in 5 years, look at the difference of the scenarios of where we are, and quite a bit of it is because then we had that big boom. So literally, some of these $400,000 houses in some markets like Miami, for example, that house is $700,000 now. So a $400,000 house going all the way to $700,000, that's like grossly overpriced if you think about that. And so where the problem comes in is just simple math, okay? Just simple economics, okay? I'm not going to nerd out on you guys too much and start flexing that I have a master's degree from Penn State in economic development. No, we're going to keep this really simple, and we're just going to break this down and let you know that homes, okay, like, right? So home prices, they actually, some people want them to go down so that they can be more affordable. Like, how could you get this back to the scenario? How can I get back to more home affordability? Because that is the thing. New home buyers, and I'm not talking about investors. Noelle's not talking like as an investor and flipping houses and all the other stuff. I'm going to talk about you guys that in just a second, because that is, of course, a better way to get real estate. Okay. And I'm going to be talking about teaching this even more at the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. So I want you to get your tickets because it's September 27th, 2025. It's all day live stream. I'm in the studio. I'm teaching you. It's interactive, amazing. Use code YouTube25, sorry, YouTube50 to save 50% off tickets. All right. Go to growyourwealthbootcamp.com. Use code YouTube50 because I teach you how to get business credit and business funding for any business, but you can also use it for real estate. Okay. You can also use it to flip houses. You can also use it to wholesale houses. You can use it for marketing for your business, inventory for your business. Like, I teach you how to get business credit quickly, how to get funding, how to set up your business properly so that you can get this business funding. It is all there. And I teach you all of that at the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. But home affordability is what I'm talking about here, just for a second, because that is a big thing. People just saying, I want to buy a house even just to live in. I'm not even talking about being a millionaire. No, I'm talking about me living in a house. Okay, let's talk about this. Check this. So if you wanted home prices to go down, you would obviously need for the mortgage prices, the price of the home to go down. So we're at 588 now. So what would you need? You would need this to be a lower number, right? Obviously, because the interest rate is much higher. Or you could have a lower mortgage rate. The mortgage rate, of course, could be lower, and that would help you. That would make this home more affordable in 2025. You could obviously make more money, which is another thing I want to teach you at the Grow Your Wealth Boot Camp. Okay, get your tickets. We'll talk about just how to get extra streams of revenue. Okay, so you have multiple streams of income. So obviously you can make more money, like you could just earn money. And I'm gonna just cross that out for a second because we're just talking about like what's going on in the housing market. Okay. And obviously you making more money, of course you could afford more house. But let's just talk about this interest rate thing and mortgage rates and what's going on with the Fed and Jerome Powell and Trump and trying to fire people and all of this other stuff. Like a lot of crazy stuff there. So, like I said, home prices can fall to make the housing more affordable. But what that would do is create a big problem for these people here that bought this house at 588. If the prices of homes go down, okay, if this price is lowered and it starts to go down, everybody that purchased obviously has a problem because now they're upside down in their home. They would be now owing more than the home is worth. So you really don't want that in a housing market. And that truly is a real estate crash when these home prices start to go down. And so there has been some news about home prices going down, but don't worry about that. It's really not nationally, it's in certain markets where it kind of needed to go down. Okay. I'm in Orlando, Florida. I'm a real estate investor. You guys know that, entrepreneur, lots of rental properties. But Miami, for example, the home prices were just skyrocketing. It was just getting so crazy on how much homes were going up. Like, you buy a home for 400,000, in the next year it's worth 700,000. Like, that's crazy appreciation. Normal appreciation is about 5% per year. They say between 3 and 10% per year. Obviously but there's been these hyper areas that are hyper appreciation, inflation areas like Miami. So some of the prices did come down in Miami, and that's kind of a good thing. And there's some markets like Detroit where prices were just going up too much. It was kind of getting ridiculous. But nationally, when you look at the national average, most markets are okay, and most areas are not seeing home prices fall. Okay, let me be really clear with you. Most areas in the United States are not seeing home prices fall. And additionally, we don't necessarily want that. We do want builders, like new construction builders, sometimes to do more deals and cut, some of their home prices because they have a lot more profit margin. But when we're just talking about home prices going down, that would be bad for the economy and that would signal the bust. So let's go back to this article, like I said, that was in Fortune magazine. Okay, let me show you this article again really quickly. So, Fortune magazine to talk about the housing data is the most critical for the pandemic, and it talks about a major thing about home builders. Okay, so look right here about home builders. Hold on, let it show for a second. It kind of takes a second. Okay, so home builders building homes, the permits The number of permits have been reduced. And that's kind of like an economic indicator that you will follow to see if housing is good, if the housing market is good. It's an indicator if the economy is good overall. And so it's amazing that they went down a little bit, but at the same time, not anything to alarm. Like if you look at all of the articles, not just Fortune, but CNBC and Fox Business and all of the places, they're going to say, no, this is probably, because they would love to have lower interest rates. Okay. And so now we get to the interest rate part because that's the big thing. Okay. So home prices, let's be clear. Like I said, earning money. We're not talking about that right now. Come to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. Go to growyourwealthbootcamp.com. Use code YouTube 50 to save 50%. And you can help learn how to earn more money and you can learn how to get business credit. Home prices. You don't want home prices to fall. You may think that, but you really don't. What most people really want, well, in most areas, in some areas, they do need to fall. Like I said, I'm putting Miami out there. Miami and Miami Beach, the values were getting too crazy. The prices were getting too crazy. Mortgage rates, that's what everybody wants to be reduced. So now is where we're talking about, because look at the difference, okay? 3% versus 7%. Yeah, that's $188,000 more, but that's a big difference in payment. A lot of it is due to the interest rate, okay? Because like even if I said we had like a 5% interest rate, all right? Let me tell you, like if you give you some numbers on if we reduce the interest rate to 5%, all right? It would be really awesome. The same house at 5%, just using that same 588. Well, if it was 5%, the estimated payment is like 2550, something like that. So that is a big difference, obviously. But even just look at the vast difference between the interest rates, okay, that 3% and home prices being a little bit not so crazy. Um, but now let's talk about something else, because we have, when it comes to home prices, we're really talking about what? Supply and demand too. Like if there's not a lot of homes available for you to buy, then the cost goes up. Okay, very simple. You know that home price is up because demand is high, but there's not that much supply. There's not that many homes. And so that's what we saw happening in 2021 after we came out of the pandemic. And so we're still trying to reach these pre-pandemic numbers, and we have not. Okay, so we want high home prices to go up, but not too much, not crazy. Okay, because then people won't afford them. People won't sell their houses. It just goes too crazy too fast. All right, it needs to be a gradual thing. So now people think, well, I'll time the market. And that's kind of what you saw going on with some of these cancellations. Like I said earlier in the video, 1 in 7 purchase contracts in July of 2025 were canceled. And a lot of that was due to people speculating and wanting a lower interest rate. Okay. And trying to time the market is silly. Let Noelle Randall tell you a multi-millionaire lesson. Like that is silly. I am always buying houses. I'm selling houses. Whatever the market is doing, I'm still always in it. So trying to time the market when the best time for you to buy a primary residence is not a smart idea, because you should always be buying investment grade properties that you could always turn into a rental property should you need it. So something happened with your income or your lifestyle or something to that nature, you could then turn that home into an investment property. So you're not buying homes, oh, it's close to my job, or oh, there has a picket fence and granite countertops. No, you're buying investment grade properties, and that's one of the reasons that I am rich today. So we talk about I'm watching the housing market. Okay, I need you to like that. I'm telling you guys some real gems right here. Like the Fed cuts rates, all right? And they cut the rates though to the Federal Reserve, just so you know, the Federal Reserve Bank is the rates that are given to banks, and then banks in turn gives those loans to consumers. So at one point in 2020, when we were seeing these 3% interest rates, that's because the Fed was charging almost zero, like in some cases 0% interest to banks. So then the banks, well, okay, I'll give you 3% person, I'll give you a 2.875 mortgage, I'll give you a 3.5 FHA loan. Like that's what was happening in 2020 and in 2021. Okay, but now we're starting to, the economy is starting to pick back up. So that's a good thing. That is a good thing. We need more supply. We need more. We want that demand. We want people buying houses, and they are. So don't think that, oh, no one's buying houses. That's not true. And just because people are canceling is due to a lot of the confusion that's going on in the market. So let's share this article right here, because this right here, baby, we have to talk about. And this is where I need y'all to comment. This is where I'm going to take a second and we are going to have a conversation in the chat, baby. I need to talk to y'all about this. So, judge temporarily blocks Trump's firing of Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. So the Trump administration is trying to get interest rates reduced. The president right now, sorry, the president of the Federal Reserve, or whatever his title is, Jerome Powell, okay? He does not want to, not yet. He might get the pressure and have to. So the Trump administration again has decided to go after some of the governors. Okay, one of the governors is this lady Lisa Cook. You see right here. Well, he fires her and sees that he can replace someone that's more friendly, more loyal to him and what he wants. All right. But now a judge has blocked that. And of course, that's going to be appealed as well. They accused her of mortgage fraud, which I think is just complete crazy. That they accused her of mortgage fraud for saying that it was a primary residence, a home that she bought with her sister. But again, that's Noelle Randall's opinion. And again, I want to talk to y'all about this in the chat for a second. But because I feel twofold and I want to have a conversation. I do want interest rates to come down because, like I said, that's one of the three ways we can get homes more affordable. Obviously, another way, and we'll get into it just a second, would be build more homes, okay? And do things like rent freezes and rent controls and how much rent can go up and different things like that. There's some things that can be done. But if we're just talking about one of the easier ways, it is mortgage rates. Bring the rates down 5%. It obviously reduces your mortgage payment, makes the home more affordable for people, okay? So I am for that. But am I for the Trump administration trying to fire one of the governors or even firing Jerome Powell, trying to oust these people in order to get lower interest rates when it's definitely going to happen anyway over time, just as the economy improves and more homes are being built and you bring more people into the world. So I'm sorry, more buyers into the market, not bring more people into the world. As more buyers into the market because they're working and they have stable incomes, that in itself will keep the market stable. Because right now, let's be clear. Again, I told you I was going to be calm on this video. I wasn't going to be hollering and screaming like, oh my God, it's about to be a bubble. Oh my God, it's about to be a burst. Those people are doing all of that hype just to get you to click on a video. The real estate market is just very stable. It's not really anything exciting right now. It's very stable. Some people buying, some people selling. Yes, there are more sellers than buyers, about 35% more, completely normal because it was so flipped the other way. It was a seller's market for so many years where buyers had to just auction and bid and let me go higher just to get a house. So we're finally seeing some stability and everybody is panicking, but that is where it should be. But I do think we should have another rate drop because I think that will help in a lot of ways. Okay. And again, as a real estate investors, I would love lower interest rates because it's not just lower interest rates on like traditional mortgages. Then my DSCR loans would be lower, my business card, credit card loans would be lower, my business rates, all of those interest rates would be lower as well. So lower interest rates are a good thing. But what do you guys think? Talk to me. What do y'all think about the Trump administration, saying I'm going to fire Lisa Cook, this African American woman from her job because I have like I have this ulterior motive. I have this thing that I want to do, and unfortunately, it's not personal. I think against Lisa Trump, if we're having an honest conversation, I don't think the Trump administration is personally wanting to attack her. She just has a position. They want her out. I think it might help a little bit that she's a female and she's African American. I think it makes it a little bit easier, maybe, to justify it. But I don't, because that's a weird one for me. Like, I want them to lower interest rates, but I don't want them to do this type of stuff. And so the housing market is in this ugly phase because who's going to win out, And the Federal Reserve did do a rate cut, okay, the end of 2024, right around the election. And again, Trump believes that this was politically motivated. Why, Jerome Powell, lowered the interest rate like October of 2024 before the election. But now that he's the president, he doesn't want to lower. They don't want to do anything more. So that it's kind of like he feels like I can blame you. And I think Lisa Cook may be a collateral damage, I guess, if I'm trying to say what I'm trying to say, collateral damage, because inventory, having houses is good for buyers. That is good for you. That is good for the market. Having a supply of homes is really, really good. So talk to me. Say, what do you guys think? So lower rates. Trump has problem with smart people, is what Zara said. That is a very interesting, because again, obviously Lisa Cook is a very smart, accomplished woman. So what else? Like, why? Like, I know we want lower interest rates. I know that's going to help, with different loans and different interest rates, different student loans, different credit cards, different mortgages, different car loans. Having lower rates, having the Fed reduce the rates that banks pay does come to consumers. We do usually see lower rates. We do. Is this worth it though? She said we need rate cut 3 to 4%. So interest rates coming back between 3 and 4%. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. But let's be clear, the data doesn't back it up to go that low for them. But getting it into the fives, I think would heat the market up quite a bit. Okay, because right now the market is really just stagnant. And so people think that, you know, I'll just wait. And at the same time, there is still inflation and appreciation. So the values are still going to go up. So you shouldn't be waiting to buy a house if that's what your goal is, because you can find people that are already behind on their mortgage payments or got sick and they need to sell their home, or they're elderly and they need to go to a convalescent home. There's lots of people that you could help and actually get yourself a really good deal on real estate. And I don't want to say this um this is not something, this is airy fairy. This is something people do every single day. So instead of going to a real estate agent and finding a house with the granite countertops and the stainless steel appliances, you could actually find people that are having property problems, people that are behind on mortgage payments or going through a divorce or in a bankruptcy, and start getting those properties for pennies on the dollar and really start becoming an investor. Because a real estate investor does think of markets and real estate markets much differently than your average consumer. Your average consumer is looking at just these numbers and that's it. But let me tell you the key, because this is what I really, really, really wanted to talk to you about and why you really came. Okay. And we're going to spend this last 10 minutes really talking about how we get power with this. Okay. Because this real estate market is about to get ugly. All right. Let me sit here. And so we have a rising nation of renters. Okay. So I'm trying to lower this a little bit. We have a rising nation of renters. And so more and more people are renting. And most of the properties that were being built, like if you look through the articles and things like that, well, it was building these multifamily luxury apartment buildings. And you've seen them going across the nation. Like that is mostly what was built in 2024 and 2025 was luxury apartment buildings. It's crazy how skewed, like 70-80% multifamily expensive luxury apartments. Okay. So we have this rising nation of renters. And if you wanted to get into luxury apartments and buying luxury apartments, it's a very crowded market. I don't even love it as a real estate investor. Okay. If I'm being honest with you, I still think single family homes and small multifamilies, like one units, duplexes, they still work because you can easily sell the property. Don't let people sell you this dream like of owning a $80 million property, like you're just selling it. Like be for real. If things start to crash, those assets are very, very vulnerable. Okay. And you having your own portfolio of rental properties puts you in a position where you're the owner, where you're the landlord. So you got to stop thinking like I'm going to be the employee and I'm going to be the renter, and start changing your mindset to I'm going to be the landlord. I'm going to be the owner. I'm going to be the boss. I'm going to be the, like, I have the power. I have the wealth. And so that I am not just blowing in the wind as different things happen in the economy. That is really what I want to stress to you. That's another reason why I want to invite you to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. So, because business credit and establishing a business properly lets you take advantage of things in any market. Because if there is a crash, which many real estate investors we would love, because what does that mean? Well, then there's a lot of distress and we get to pick up properties for pennies on the dollar. I'm being honest. We are going to see more foreclosures, but not enough like 2008. But that creates a great opportunity for you. You don't need 100 properties. You don't need 200 and 300. Having 8, 10 properties really puts you in a position where you are very, very successful. You have a very comfortable lifestyle and you don't have a lot of stress. You really want to create a style where you have this business that gives you leverage, because you can get business credit and you can leverage that. You can get credit cards and loans and all of these different things in your business's name, and leverage that to buy assets, to buy real estate, to buy cars, and again, assets. So that's why when I say cars, I don't mean just cars like driving and put them in your your garage. I mean, you would rent them out. You could have a business doing that. If I say assets, if I say car, you guys know I mean you're using them as a rental. Okay, so know that. And when I say houses, I don't mean just have a bunch of houses that are sitting empty. I mean you have rental properties, either short-term rentals or long-term rentals. You can invest in other people's businesses and that pays you residuals. You can actually loan out money to other businesses. I've literally gotten a line of credit and loaned someone money, and they borrowed 20,000 and paid me back 25 and stuff like that. And it's all just money that I have sitting on a line of credit. So having access to more money will also give you access to more opportunities. And that's really why I want you to come to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. And that's what I want you to understand about what's happening in the real estate market. So when I say it's about to get ugly, interest rates are not coming down. the way that people want. It's not, I love you so much, Zara. It's not going to the 3 to 4%. Okay. I see you in the chat. It's not going that low, but it's probably going to 5. Okay. And that's going to be a really good thing. So because we have so many renters, and like I said, we have this renter nation that's kind of evolving, okay, especially with Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and them not even wanting to own any real estate. Well, that puts you in the position to be very powerful, because what's going to happen is wealth is going to start to get very divided. There's going to be a set of owners and a set of renters. And I always encourage you to be an owner. I always encourage us that we cannot also follow everyone else's advice, because they have generationally different histories than some of us do. And so if someone, depending on, is telling you don't buy a house, don't start a business, you think about what their family history is versus what yours is, and what you're creating versus what they're talking about. And a lot of times they don't match. We have to do what we have to do, and that is owning real estate, and that is starting businesses, not getting jobs. So I'm going to be a little bit controversial right here and tell you, yes, you can have a job, and I love you so much, but I want you, if you have a job, also to come to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp, because I think you should also have a business. Okay. And your business can be successful. Even if you struggle in your business, that doesn't mean you're not going to be successful. Noelle, Randall is always going to tell you positivity. And even other people that maybe even look like me and sweet like me telling you to get a job. No, don't believe them unless you want to get a job. You don't have to get a job unless you want to get a job. And I tell you, I promise you, more millionaires are created in their businesses, not at jobs. And yes, whether you have a job or whether you have your business, there's going to be some struggles, which is why I always want you to be getting business credit and business funding. And the more you do that, the more access you have to it. Okay. I literally started out maybe $20,000 on a credit card. Now I have millions of dollars that I have access to in other people's money. And I have great personal credit. So if you have bad personal credit, I encourage you to fix it. And we teach you that also at the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp, because you can leave your personal credit alone once you get good business credit going. And then you really just leverage your personal credit so that they look at your personal credit, make sure, yep, you pay people, and then they give you stuff in your business's name. And you can do this over and over and over again with businesses. You can start a business, build business credit, get it funded, and then go to the next thing. So come to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. Use code YouTube50 to save 50% off tickets. This is the absolute last Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp that I will be able to do in 2025. I have so many amazing things going, but I need you guys to understand there are some changes coming, and you can take advantage of them. And you really can start owning real estate and not being a part of the renter nation and the worker nation and the people that just have jobs and, live just small lives. I'm always going to encourage you that you can have the biggest life that you want, and people will try to shrink you down. Don't listen to them. Do not listen to them. And it's funny because it's also people that came from almost nothing that are so quick to put somebody else down. And I don't understand that. I used to be broke, bankrupt, and living in my parents' basement. Today, because I'm a multimillionaire, I absolutely know that you can be one as well. And you do not have to go get a job. Okay. So let's come to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. Get your tickets to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. Use code YouTube50. Noelle, Randall believes in you. This housing market is changing, but it's a supply and demand issue. And we are actually in a very stable real estate market. Rates are going to come down a little bit, but the real opportunity that you are missing altogether is that you should be compiling real estate. You should be an owner. You should have a portfolio of rental properties. Okay. And that's what's really available for you. And that's what's going to be happening in the market, because that's mostly who's buying the homes. You saw Black Wall Street was going crazy buying real estate. And now and they made billions of dollars. Why wouldn't you do the same? You have to understand this is for you. All right. All right, guys. So I've been here almost 30 minutes. Like I said, let me take a couple of comments. Thank you so much, Dwayne. I love what you're saying. Karen said, that is amazing. Yes, Karen, you could do that. Like I said, and I tell that you guys earnestly. I used to be broke, bankrupt, and live in my parents' basement. Today, I'm a multi-millionaire real estate entrepreneur, author, speaker, mentor, and so many people were negative with me, told me I couldn't do it. Yeah, I had people tell me to go get a job too, and I'm so happy that I didn't. All right. So I want to encourage you, because I think what more than anything, instead of somebody telling you to get a job because you need money for your business, well, do what the rich do. Do what Jeff Bezos and them do. They go borrow money in their business's name. People lend them money where they don't even have payments on. There are loans that you can get where you don't even have payments right away. Did you know that with businesses? Because they know that sometimes it takes you time in order to get the business going and start generating revenue before you can even start paying on them back. But these are things that are offered to businesses, not so much to consumers. So I really want to open your mind to this whole other world of business credit and business funding that exists. And yes, I know there's some difference between corporate credit and business credit. We break all of that down and kind of get into that at um, the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. But being clear with you, it doesn't really necessarily matter if you have to personally guarantee things in the beginning, because that will go away as the business grows and as you build more trade lines and prove that you are a business that's going to be around year after year. Okay. You can do that. And single family homes are still an amazing opportunity. Do not listen to these people that tell you need a 100 unit apartment complex to be anything in real estate. You can have 3, 4 houses and keep going and just easily do that. Easily sell them and get 6 more. You sell your 3 and end up with 6, because homes are not that difficult to sell. Lots and land are not that difficult to sell. They have appreciation, they have cash flow. You can use them as rental properties. They have a tangible value that you can borrow against. Do not listen to these people that are being negative with you, telling you that your business is not going to work. And do not listen to these people that tell you that you should not and cannot own real estate, and that you shouldn't buy a house or not live in a house, that you should rent from them. Do not, that's crazy. And that's crazy for our legacy. If you are a part of the community that I'm talking about, if you're a part of my community, you guys watching, you're a part of my community. For most of us, that's just not a good answer. That's just not a good answer. Okay. We have a different history. And so we have to have a different view of what we're doing, and we have to move differently. And that's all I'm saying. So come to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. Use code U250 and we'll dive into this a little bit more. But I want you to understand the real estate market is changing and you can prepare for it. You can make a lot of money, but the opportunity is big for you to own a lot of real estate using other people's money. And especially once interest rates come down, because they will. All right. Get your tickets right now. Use code U250, growyourwealthbootcamp.com. Thank you so much, Vincent. Somebody else want to give me a super chat? I would love that. So we did have a goal here. I wanted at least 10 supers. If you're still here, I'll stay up here and I'll actually answer questions. So if you send me a super, I'll answer your question and we can talk, and I'll just stay on. All right. See if anybody wants to do that. So, okay. Oh, so the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp is completely virtual. Okay. So it's a live stream. So someone just asked that question. It is a complete live stream. So you can do it from your computer. You can do it from your phone, and it is live. So you want to be there on camera, but there is a replay if for some reason you are not available. Okay, that exact day. But most people are live because we do prizes, we do giveaways, there's scholarships. It is a fun time too. So it's not only a full day of learning, it's actually a really enjoyable time because it's very interactive. Okay, so it's not like this live stream right here. Literally, I can take you off mute, I can hear you guys. You can ask your questions, I can see them, I can answer them. We do a VIP Q&A at the end. It is really, really awesome. So I love the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. I wish I could do a bunch more, but the one September 27, 2025 is the last one of 2025. So get your tickets right now. Okay, so Okamir says, oh, and it's one of my fans. Hey, you're one of my top chatters. He says, we really need to embrace being the owners. We really do. And I think for some of us, we are very afraid of the risk that comes with being the owner. But I think you're missing out on the security of being the owner. You know what I mean? When you don't own something, you are the one that can be thrown out. You are the one that doesn't have any power. You are the one that is, just searching for something. Okay, but if you are the owner, this is yours. You actually have a lot more leverage. Even if you get behind. Okay, there are way more options for someone that's behind on their mortgage versus someone that's behind on their rent. Okay, to stay in that place. All right. Thank you so much, Chris Hughes, the anonymous $10. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Let's see. So Scorpion says, I've already signed up, Queen. Yes. Actually, I think that doesn't say Scorpion. That says Scipion James. Okay. Gillian, thank you. Thank you. You're one of my members. Really appreciate that. Can't wait to see you. We've already sold like tons of tickets. There's already hundreds of people, but we are limited because it is a live stream. It is on a Zoom. So once the tickets are sold out, they're all gone. So that's why I always say, get your tickets to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp as soon as possible, because it does sell out. People are like always like, can you do another one? I missed it. That day doesn't work for me. And I'm like, this is the last one. Get your tickets. Because I have even more new information and new stuff. Okay. Because since this is the last one of the year, I'm like, let's go. All right. Like I said, there's going to be prizes and giveaways and scholarships and all that fun stuff as well. All right. So Jack Godchild says, I feel you on the super. Can't give away too much for free. I will do my homework. I completely understand. Completely understand. Awesome, awesome. All right, so again, if you joined late, also make sure you watch the beginning of this. Like I said, I went through this whole thing, and I want you to understand like where I'm getting the information from, because it truly is a lot of people out here saying things that just aren't true about and causing panic in the market. When it's not panic, it is something happening, but it's not a reason to panic or think that, oh my gosh, the world is falling. There are some things that are going on with the tariffs, but that's a whole nother subject, guys, a whole nother subject. All right, so Katie says, hi, Noelle. Thanks for all your expertise. I've learned a lot from watching your videos. Mind changing. I love you. Thank you so much, Katie. I appreciate that. All right, so I got Callie Cooley sent me a super. I want to thank you. My husband and I started and planned with your videos. We went from having jobs to having a multi-million dollar millionaire construction business with the hospitals in our city. Thank you forever. Oh my gosh, I love that. That makes me happy. Like, y'all have just made my day with that. Yes, Chris Hughes, I really appreciate you, but Callie Cooley with the $10 and the inspirational story, because those are the things that I want to make sure that I am giving and that everybody here knows. Okay, is that it is not all doom and gloom. Even if you start low, that doesn't mean you have to end low. And I am so disappointed in people that struggle to make it and then turn around and tell others that they can't make it. That breaks my heart, because I know even when you're struggling, and again, I coach and I mentor. So people sometimes call me sad, like it's not working right now. And oh my gosh. And I'm still like, no, I'm not going there with you, because I know that on your road to success, on your journey, there will be tough times, but that is totally okay. And you're fine. Keep going. So happy for you, Callie Cooley. Love that. Everybody, like, shout out and congratulate Callie in the comments. That is so amazing, because that is amazing too, working with the hospital. So I would love to know what city you're in. That's also, again, absolutely amazing. You guys email me lots of inspirational stories like that. I wish I could share all of them, because people, if I could share all of the positivity that I receive, no one would be negative. But I know that there's so much clickbait, and people probably aren't going to watch this video because I'm not talking negative about the real estate market, but I want you to know there's an opportunity. And it really is about embracing, like what's the name said, it's about embracing being an owner. And yeah, there is some risk that comes with it, but I'm telling you, it's actually more stability in it. All right, so Regina says, hi from Seattle, Washington. Hello. Karen says, excellent. Oakmere says, I have a question. So my credit or income to debt is high. Can I purchase a trade line and raise my credit score? So that's actually an interesting question, Okamir, about purchasing trade lines. So that's not one of the things that I usually recommend. I do have some access to some of that, but if I'm talking about how to fix your personal credit, a lot of times it's just a lot simpler than that. It's a lot of times a lot simpler to get some of that negative stuff deleted off, and that's kind of some of the stuff that we go over when we're talking about personal credit, how to quickly fix your personal credit. Is how to quickly kind of get some of those negative things just removed altogether, and what the true ways to do that is. Okay. Buying a trade line does sometimes work for, I've seen it work for some people. I've seen it not work for others. I personally did not do that to fix my credit. I think there's faster ways to fix your personal credit and then quickly build business credit, so that you're building on your business credit. And that's constantly what you just keep going back to, because that's something that you can repeat over and over. You can get the LLC, get the EIN, get the virtual address, and then keep building business credit. You can do that over and over and over again. And your personal credit, you just have one. So really it's like, let's fix it and leave it alone, and then let's just build business credit for the rest of our lives in different businesses. And that's the better plan. Okay. So if you're interested though, and I would love to hear about what happens with you buying a trade line, because again, I've heard more negatives than positive, which is not why it's not one of the things I spout about a lot. Okay. All right, good question. A lot of risk and a lot of unpaid work. Yeah. Yes. Yes, that's another thing. When you first making it to the to millionaire status, there's a lot of free work that you are doing, which is another reason why I always say it's amazing time to be building business credit, because it's like it all will kind of come together at the same time. A lot of times once the business starts really really kicking off and making a lot of money, that's too when they just like open the floodgates and give you even more money to really take it to that next level. So think about it. You have a business that's going slow, hardly making no money, then you can get it where it's making 10 grand a month, then they give you another 250. Well, now you can take it from $10,000 a month to $100,000 per month a lot faster. That's the way. Okay. So it is a lot of hard work. It really is. But once you get it going, especially if you follow the right steps and you stay strong and you don't fall into the negative thoughts, you really can live a soft life. I guess that's the word people say now, soft life. All right, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go get my kids. Okay. All of the accounts are open. I love that. Yes, the boot camp is virtual. All right, literally, that's how it happens. Exactly. Thank you so much, Callie. You just been so inspirational, and that was like a lot of positivity. Like I said, I want to make sure that we're giving positivity to the world and sharing the positive stories, not just the negative ones. Yes, there's negative things that happen on your way to millionaire, but let's be really, really clear. Once you make it, you can teach others and you can be positive, and we can really start to be this movement. All right. So let's be a movement. All right. Come to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. Cannot wait to see you there. Use code YouTube50 to save 50%. Why? Because I want to make sure that you have all of the knowledge, all of the resources, and all of the tools that you need to be successful. This is Noelle Randall. To your success.